Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Hey, greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. And, it's always so funny when you get the opportunity to sit down and talk with people that, when you're a little bit younger, you used to watch on television. But here's a person that I have seen them and their journey and met with them in person and have the utmost respect for. And that's actor Kevin Sorbo. Kevin was born in Mound, Minnesota. Minnesota, nice, oof da. We can get into all that. His mother worked as a nurse, and his father taught junior high school, resulting in an upbringing that forged the outstanding work ethic Kevin holds to this day. By the time he was in university, Kevin was covering tuition costs with modeling work, which swiftly translated into a career in television with his first appearances on primetime shows such as Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote, and The Commish. In 1993, Kevin emerged as a full-fledged international TV star when he was cast as the lead role of Hercules in a series of TV films that would lay the groundwork for the immensely popular series Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. Kevin also guest starred as Hercules in episodes of the successful spin-off series Xena, Warrior Princess, as well as providing his voice to the animated Hercules films. In 1997, Kevin accepted his first leading role in the fantasy action figure called The Conqueror. Along the way, Kevin played characters in video games such as Mortal Kombat 4, God of War, and The Conduit. In addition to his work on screen, Kevin now also produces films, recently serving as executive producer and star of the movie Abel's Field. Kevin authored the widely praised book True Strength that recounts the painful recovery from serious health setbacks that changed his life during his Hercules years. Kevin Sorbo married actress Sam Jenkins, who he met during her guest appearance on Hercules in 1998. They have three children together, Braden, Shane, and Octavia. And besides his successful career in entertainment, Kevin has always devoted a hearty portion of his time to the causes he believes in. In 2005, he was named successor to Arnold Schwarzenegger as the national spokesperson for the After School Alliance, a nonprofit working to ensure that all children have access to quality after-school programs. And since 1997, Kevin has donated his time as the spokesperson for the nonprofit organization A World Fit for Kids. And we're joined with Kevin Sorbo. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time.
I'm exhausted from my career. That was a long one.
Hey, I tell you, I had to take a deep breath there, boy. You've been out there kicking some butt and taking names. You know, you're so well known across the globe, as your bio says. What do you see right now in America that is causing you the greatest amount of trouble? Because we have always been that beacon, that shining light, that city upon a hill that it talks about in the Bible, that Ronald Reagan even talked about. What do you see that concerns you the most about our culture now?
Apathy. I think that's the biggest killer, not only in
Yeah,
America, around the world right
yeah,
now. It's people in this country keep forgetting us, we the people, but they don't teach civics in school anymore because they don't want citizens to know that are growing up that we the people are the ones who are supposed to run the country. There's a bigger and bigger divide between what the bubble of people in DC are doing to the rest of the world here. And we saw it played out in, I mean, the hypocrisy and the blatant, use of fear
mm-hmm,
as their weapon during COVID and everything. Look, Facebook took me down 2 years ago for posting the truth. And now if they actually physically would bring my Facebook back, but of course they never do that, But I posted on Twitter not too long ago. I said, does anybody have any more hypocrisy theories? Because mine keep coming true. So it's just amazing and how sad that this country has fallen and people are sucked into, you mentioned something about my father being a school teacher. Back when I was school, I'm sure when you were in school too, they taught the subject they were taught, paid to teach, whether it was math or biology, whatever it may be. Today, every single teacher, all they want to do is push this ridiculous, agenda down everybody's throat. So we got a whole group of people under the age of 25 that have grown up in these schools that they're just, they're grown up to hate America, to hate white people, to, critical race theory. Let's rip down all of our statues because God forbid America is the only country that has bad history, right? No other country in the world has had any bad history. I mean, it's weird to me that we want to erase our history because you're supposed to learn from it, right? But I think people were destined to repeat it because people don't want to know anything about our past.
No, you're absolutely right. And so when you look at, there's a great Bible verse that I always like to use: when the foundations are being destroyed, what shall the righteous do? And I have seen you really step up and, you talk about Hercules, the legendary journeys. Your journey has really taken an incredible turn. I have seen in that you are very outspoken. You're, coming out of Hollywood, out of the entertainment industry. You're speaking of these issues in our culture, and especially your involvement with Christian films. How did that happen? What was your moment of epiphany or your road to Damascus moment?
Well, one thing I got to give the writers on Hercules credit for, even though it's mythological, they gave the show a lot of moral values. They
Yes.
gave the show a lot of positive things to say about, Hercules can go around looking for fights. He'd always try to talk people out of it. And through thousands of letters that we got every week down in New Zealand, where I lived for 7 years, fans just sort of just mirrored that. They just said, we love what you're saying. We love that, there's a positive message in here. But really 2010 was a big turning point in terms of the kind of movies I want to do. I did a movie called What If? And Dallas Jenkins directed it. Dallas Jenkins is doing The Chosen right now. It's become a massive hit everywhere. His father's Jerry Jenkins, and Jerry Jenkins, along with Tim LaHaye, wrote the Left Behind books in the 90s. Well, my most recent movie that I hope people will go look at right now, it's streaming and it's also available on DVD at Walmart, is called Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist. I directed it as well. We had a 2-month run in January and February. But What If really was the groundwork for me in terms of doing movies with a positive message. And 2 years later, from the same writers that did What If, I did a little movie called God's Not Dead, which
Yes.
became a massive, massive hit. And I just said, these are the kind of movies I want to do. 11 years ago, my manager and agent called me in. It was like an intervention, I guess. And they said, we can't work with you anymore. They said, because of being a Christian and conservative, we just can't get work for you. And I started laughing at them. I said, this is the industry. As you know, in Hollywood, they scream for tolerance. They scream
Yes.
for freedom of speech. But everything's a one-way street with them. The hypocrisy just flows out of their bodies, and they continually are the snake that eat their tail constantly to us. But I said the heck with it. So I opened my own studio, Sorbo Studios. Please go to sorbostudios.com, sign up. We'll keep you up to date. I've got 2 more movies in the pipeline they're going to be in theaters this fall. I got 4 other movies in post-production right now. I'm staying busy, and I'm going to keep on staying busy. And God willing, I keep finding funders to help our movies. That's the biggest task for me, is finding independent funders. I want to do independent movies that have hope and love and faith and redemption and laughter, movies that Hollywood won't do. And these are the kind of movies I'm going to keep doing.
It's amazing to me because I think you talked about God's Not Dead. A lot
Yeah.
of people are looking toward faith-based and these Christian movies that, Hollywood does not want to do, but yet there's a
Yeah.
God-shaped hole in a lot of people's heart, and they're looking for a story of redemption and resurrection and restoration. So how can we get more people? Because everyone, I hate the political season. Send me $25, send me $50. But how can
Yeah.
we really find people that understand, like the left had done, these are causes that we need to
Yeah.
be, focused on, and we need to be funding. We just heard about George Soros' son going to take over his empire. Where's the George Soros, a conservative guy on our side, that can help us to develop these films? I talked with Nick Searcy about this. I talked with Dean Cain about this.
Yep. Those are both very good friends. Dean and I are trying to put together a movie right now to
Yeah.
shoot later this year or early next year. So, it really comes down to people not being afraid to step out. I meet plenty of billionaires that are conservatives, and I don't get it why they don't want. I mean, we got a culture war on our hands right now, and Hollywood drives the culture.
Yes.
Andrew Breitbart said it. Maybe he wasn't the first to say it. He was the first member saying it that politics runs downstream of culture, and
Yes.
Hollywood runs the culture. The mainstream media perpetuates it, and they're putting out their agenda. They're putting out the movies, their TV shows. I can't get into 10 minutes of any of these things that come out anymore without their agenda being shoved down their throat. And I go, you know what? You look at a movie like Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that movie did so well is because they didn't. It was just a good movie with a good message. It didn't have this agenda or that agenda. It was just good versus evil and good triumphing. I mean, the '60s changed for America big time. I think that was the first time you really start. The Vietnam
Yeah.
War. You had the civil rights movement. You had JFK being assassinated. You had the hippie loves. You had the rock and roll really stepping up, and it really changed everything. And I'm not bashing rock and roll. I love rock and roll too, but um, I look at the changes in the movies specifically where they started making the bad guy the guy to emulate, the guy that was great. One of my favorite movies is Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid with Robert Redford and Paul
Yeah.
Newman. The reality, the real Robert Redford, I mean, the real Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid weren't good-looking guys like those guys. They weren't really spiffy, quick, funny, charming guys. These guys were murderers. These guys were bad guys. But that movie glorified them, and you kind of wow. And that's sort of what happened. And Walt Disney said back in the 1950s, movies and television will influence our youth. Well, gee, what do you think is going on in the world right now?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to battle them with my $3-4 million budget against their $300 million budgets they have in Avatar and Avengers and Galaxy, whatever. And $3 million, that's catering budget to those guys. So the only way we can win this battle is when people support these movies, any way and anyhow. Pastors, church leaders, whatever, schools that aren't woke. We need these people to say, fill up these theaters, because theater owners don't care what they show.
Yeah.
They want to sell popcorn and sodas. If you got a movie that is a big opening weekend, they'll keep it going. Trust me. So somehow we need people to step up and not be afraid, because there's a lot of sheep out there. We need lions to wake up and fight the good fight.
You just brought up a great point. I remember the quote that's attributed to Alexander the Great, where he said that I would not fear an army of lions if they were led by lambs, but I would fear an army of sheep if they were led by lions.
Yeah.
Why is it that we have seen such a lack of courage, you think, in the church? Because to me, all these mega churches out there, why aren't they standing up and getting behind you and making sure that their congregations out there supporting the type of films that you're making? Or maybe I'm
I
wrong.
wish I
Maybe they
knew.
are. I don't know.
No, I know they're not. I wish I knew. I know a lot of those guys, and I can't quite figure it out either. I can't figure out why they wouldn't want to jump on board. Look, I can do a movie that reaches millions of people. They may have a congregation of 100 people to 10,000 people, but it's not a million people millions I could reach over the weekend.
Yeah.
I get stopped all the time through hotel lobbies, airports, whatever it may be, and people say it's not Hercules or Andromeda, my other series. They say, I love you and God's not dead, Soul Surfer, What If, Let There Be Light. Please make more movies like that. And that's what we're trying to do. But the biggest battle I got, of course, is the funding of that. And I don't get why that's such a difficult problem to raise $3 million to do a good movie that will be out there forever. It's a weird battle. I get frustrated. I got friends that say it's in God's timing, or sometimes I get a little impatient with his timing. But I'm working on it. So, like I said, I got a couple more movies down the pipeline here right now, and I'm just going to keep on doing the movies that hopefully will inspire people instead of bring people down. But it really comes down to, once again, to schools, mainstream medias, universities. I tell people, don't send your kids to public schools. Number one, don't send your kids to universities. There's some good ones out there, but 99% of them are not good. And all they're going to do is indoctrinate your kids and bring out more little people that believe socialism and communism is a good thing. And I keep reminding people, no one's taking boats from Key West to Cuba. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely right. I live down in South Florida, and I can guarantee you that they're not doing that. And, when I think about your home state, the state of your birth, Minnesota, and the incredible yeah, I know you know exactly where I'm going.
You turn into California. It's horrible.
I mean, and what people don't understand is that the left has an agenda. You look at Colorado. Colorado was a red state, or even here in Texas, where I am, all the major urban population centers. We just had the Dallas, Pride Parade, which was just absolutely disgusting. The things that they were exposing kids to. What do you think can tap into parents? Can tap into everyday Joe and Jane six pack to get them to say, "Time out on the court. Enough's enough." What do you think that turning point is? What do you think that breaking point is?
Number one, it's very strange to me that with basically what 3% of the
Mm-hmm.
population is in the gay and lesbian category. In the transgender category, it's like 0.25% or something,
Yeah.
that we bend over backwards not to offend them when they can be offensive to straight people, heterosexual
Mm-hmm.
people. To me, it's like, I don't care where you lie sexually, fine, whatever. But why do we have to constantly shove it down people's throats? What if we start shoving down people's throats our straightness, our heterosexuality? I mean, I don't
Oh, they're
understand why.
triggered. They're triggered then.
It's just well, they're always looking for something to be offensive. They're just look. I mean, I can post stuff, and I already told you, Facebook took me down. I lost 4 million followers on Facebook for posting the truth. They'll never put me back out again. Everything I said about COVID ended up being true, but will they let me back out? No, they won't. They've taken those 4 million followers away because they're filled with hate. These are people that are filled with hate and anger. I can guarantee you, if I did a documentary on the lives of these people, I would think the majority of them probably grew up in pretty bad situations, probably grew up without a father, probably grew up with a lot of hate and anger, probably a lot of self-loathing for themselves. They probably look in the mirror and don't like what they see. I would say that with Antifa members, I'm probably spot
Mm-hmm.
on with people like that. And why can't we sit down and have conversations about that with instead of violence, instead of looking to just be angry all the time? Why did they get the power to cancel people? That's what I don't get. And these are people that George Soros is probably paying.
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't have jobs and they're collecting unemployment on your tax dollars and mine. And then they resort to violence, thinking that's the answer. Well, then move to another country. If you don't like it here, Venezuela's waiting for you. North Korea will welcome you with open arms. Go to Russia. I mean, go to these other countries. If you think that we're so bad and so horrible, why do you stay here? Or why do you want to turn us into those kind of countries? It's unfortunate. I think most of these people, once they hit 40 years old and older, most of them flip, don't they? They
Yeah.
start to realize, wait a minute, something's wrong here. Something's very strange about the way I was acting back in my youth. And but I've always been a conservative. First person I could vote for was Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were beside themselves, but I grew up in Minnesota. But we had Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale back then.
Yep.
But those are Democrats. There aren't Democrats even like that today.
No, you're right.
JFK would be a conservative. Listen to his 1960 inauguration speech.
No, you're absolutely right in that, I try to get people to understand it's not so much the political party designation, it's how you see the relationship between the individual and the institution of government. And you have people that have an R after their name, they hold some progressive
Oh,
viewpoints.
no question.
And but
Yeah.
but now we're dealing with an ideology that believes that the individual has no rights. I mean, you hear Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre say, your children aren't yours. Your children belong
Yeah.
to us, and we'll tell you what kind of stove you can have in your home, or what kind of heater. How do you think we can educate people to realize that there's no freedom in that? There's no freedom in someone, saying, here's what we're going to hand to you. Like in the black community, reparations. I don't need any damn reparations. That's the most insulting, offensive thing that I ever
Yeah.
heard of. But how can we come together and better educate people? Because when I look at the church, I see the platform by which we can make a difference.
Well, churches need to wake up too. There's a lot of woke pastors out there. It's really unbelievable what I see going on in churches today. And a lot of churches don't want to work together. They have their own little egos and their own little fundraisers, doing their own thing. And I keep going, isn't that all the same God? Is that your God better than my God mentality going on here? It's just really weird to me. We need people from Venezuela that I've met that live in this country now. People that I've met from North Korea that were lucky to even get out. People I've met from Russia. People I've met from any other third world country that worked their way to get here. We need them to be able to go into the public schools, from grade school, junior high, and high schools and talk to students. But they'll never let them do that. And why? That's the biggest thing to me. All these mainstream media people, do they get behind closed doors and go, how much longer can we keep protecting this Biden guy? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, do they all really think he's doing an amazing job? Because everything he's done has made the country worse. It's made it worse. And everybody I meet that sits there and gets on my face and Trump was horrible, I hated him. And I go, what policies did you hate? And they can't name them.
Yeah.
They can't name one. His ego. And I go, yeah, Obama never had an ego, did he? No president of any country has an ego.
Yeah.
So I said, name any policy you had that was detrimental to you, and they can't do it because all they have are their labels and talking points. I love it when they sit there. I'm a Christian conservative. You're homophobic. I've been in the business 40 years. I work with gay people in every set I've been on, whether it's a lesbian. You won't find one in 40 years saying, I was a horrible person to them, a horrible person to work with. You won't find one. But it doesn't matter because we live in a country now that you're guilty before being proven
Yeah.
innocent. You look what they've done to some of our Supreme Courts when people were trying to get in their Supreme Court under Trump.
Yes.
They went back on Kavanaugh, whatever. They went back 40 years on him saying, you flirted with a girl in college. Well, who didn't? I mean, this is just it's so insane that of what we're doing in this whole cancel world. But obviously, these people have led amazingly perfect lives. So you need to get these people on your radio show, your podcast, because they can tell you and your listeners how to live a more perfect life like they do, because they're obviously sin-free and just amazing,
Well,
amazing
the
humans.
amazing thing is that leftists do not want to get outside their own circle. They don't want to get outside their
Dude,
own bubble.
no.
They will not go on any type of platform where they will be intellectually challenged whatsoever. And
Yeah.
so we have a moral high ground. I just wish we would understand that, because the only thing that they have, as you just articulated, as a small minority, is a tenacity. And why
Yeah.
can't we have that exact same tenacity? And so the thing that I say it causes problem, and you just brought it up, we back down when we get called a name.
Yeah.
It's the most incredible thing. I've been called white man's porch monkey, of course, blackface of white supremacy. Let's see, the Uncle Tom thing. And I really don't care. I mean, I've been in combat. I've been shot at. So if you're calling me a name, and I think that's what you're saying, if you're calling Kevin Sorbo a homophobic, you don't have a shot at debating against you, because
Yeah.
you're not that. But so many people, Kevin, back down as soon as they hear, "Oh, I don't want to be called that. I don't want to be called a white
Yeah.
supremacist or
Yeah.
racist."
Because they're sheep. They've been cowed, they've been cowered, they've been beaten down by the media and beaten. They're afraid. Look at all these athletes that have come out and said something and then they back down after they say it.
Yeah.
Stick by your guns, what you said. I mean, this guy up in Toronto, Blue Jays,
Oh,
the
the pitcher.
pitcher,
Yeah.
he didn't make a horrible statement. He just said something. What did he just say? He said, leave children alone,
Uh-huh.
It wasn't like a big deal. And they end up firing the guy. And I'm going, wait a minute. These are the reasons why I don't want to watch Major League Baseball anymore. I stopped watching the NBA years ago. So I got sick of that. When people took a knee for Black Lives Matter and all these sports, I said, I'm not done with these sports. I said, you guys even understand the manifesto of Black Lives Matter? Because
Absolutely.
they put it out there and I printed it. They believe in communism. They want to get rid of God. They want to get rid of family. They're Marxists. I mean, I look at all this different things, and all these companies went out and gave them millions of dollars. What did they do with it? They bought beautiful homes and cars and got great vacations. Where's the backlash for that? Where are people not getting angry in the Black community when 70 Black kids every weekend are dying in Chicago?
Yes.
Every weekend. Where are people getting upset about that? It is so strange to me. Do you know in Chicago, I did a documentary there, narrated with Kevin Jackson,
Oh, I know him well.
and it's called Bleeding Blue, and it doesn't paint the cops as perfect people. Every profession has a bad apple.
Yeah.
But it shows what they have to go through and the reactions they have to go through in record time, because they don't know what any car stop is going to be. They have no idea what's going to happen. And in 2018, there were over 4,100 shootings. There's more these last few years, but 4,100 shootings in Chicago. How many involved the police? 0.8%. So 99.2% were mostly Black on Black or civilian on civilian, whatever you want to look at it. But 0.8%. What got all the news coverage? 0.8%.
Yes.
10 African Americans were killed in that year by police officers. How many police officers were killed that year? 80. 80. Where's the uproar over that? Why aren't people upset about that? It is so weird right now, but it comes down to the television coverage again. It comes down to the media. It comes down to what government wants to get out there. And you hit it right. There's rhinos on the other side as well. And we need people to wake up and remember this is we the people, because we got a huge battle in hands and we're losing this country very quickly. If we keep letting it go the way it's been going these last few years, and 10 years from now, people are going, oh my God, we were wrong. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
And by then it's going to be too late.
Well, what gives you hope? I mean, I always believe that there's hope out there. I being in the military, I don't care what the odds are. I always think you can pull out a victory. How do you think we achieve victory here in the United States?
Well, number one, keep government out of the wars. Let the experts in the war handle the wars. I think, I mean, every Vietnam vet I've talked to said we could have won that war in 6
Oh
months.
yeah.
The government stepped in and said, no, this is what we're going to do. I mean, it's just the number of lives that are lost through stupidity from our government trying to tell generals what they need to do is amazing to me. I know that I'm not going to name the names of some of these Democrats who went down to the border here about 6 months ago, because I know some border control guys down there, and they said these guys say they're the ones who are going to solve the problem. They sat there and were total shock seeing the amount of people coming over our border. Like they just, even though you can see it on TV and they saw it in person, they went, oh my gosh, we're watching this in real time. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Yet they still don't do anything about it. They do nothing about it. So to me, it comes down to people just waking up and not being afraid. Don't be afraid. The heck with the cancel culture. They're going to cancel you regardless anyway. Just get out there and don't be afraid. And that's the biggest thing. Fear is the weapon the government keeps using to control people's lives.
Absolutely, and that's, like you said, that's what we saw in COVID, and that was the test case. And they're looking to see how much further they can go. Tell us real quickly about your current project that you're working on, how we could get behind you.
Please go to sorbostudios.com. That's a great place to go to get all information, both for myself and my wife. My wife's a homeschool advocate, and she's very busy traveling the country doing that. I do a lot of pro-life speaking, a lot of health speaking, motivational speaking. They can contact us there. I've got the Reagan movie coming out. I don't know when. Dennis Quaid plays President Reagan. I played his pastor. Hopefully this year. I got another movie I directed called Miracle in East Texas. True story, set in the largest oil fund in the history of the world in Kilgore, Texas, right in the heart of the Depression. And I've got two other movies I'm directing later this year. They're action movies. I know people enjoy that as well. And I'm just staying busy, and I'm going to keep on plugging along and doing the things that obviously make Hollywood upset.
Well, we thank you for that, for being a disruptor, and we thank you for your dedication to Christian constitutional conservative principles.
Patriot.
That's it. That's it. That's you. That's you. Not just Hercules, but an American patriot. And
Right.
and I love that sword back there. That's why.
That was after 7 years on Hercules. I got
And
that.
I keep my Black Robe Regiment tomahawk right there because I think
I got to get one of your coins here, sir.
you know what? I'm going to get you a tomahawk.
That'd be awesome.
We'll
That'd
get
be
your
awesome.
name inscribed on it because I think that's what we need. We need those type of pastors who led regiments during the American Revolution. And,
Yes.
and you're definitely out there leading the way, and we thank you for that. So, Kevin Sorbo,
Right.
God bless you. God bless Sam,
pleasure.
and thank you for joining us on the Steadfast and Law podcast.
My pleasure. What part of Texas you in?
I'm right in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
Oh,
next.
my wife was just out there with Turning Point USA.
Oh
She
yeah,
was just out.
the women's Liberty
Yeah.
Seminar conference this
Yeah, she
weekend.
was just there. I'll be out there a couple times this year. I'll be in Houston. I got something going on in Austin.
Okay, well, be careful going into Austin. That's Moscow.
Yeah, I know.
Moscow on the Colorado River. So,
I know, it's crazy.
God be with you, my friend.
All right, take care. Thanks.
Bye bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. Thanks, Kevin Sorbo, for taking time to be with us. And as always, if you like this podcast, please click the like button and share it with others. And until next time, steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.